Today we are going to discuss on the steel industry's carbon challenge. So steel is the backbone of our modern world. From skyscraper to car, it's everywhere. But this strength comes at a high environmental cost. The iron and steel industry is responsible for staggering 7 to 9% of all global CO2 emission. To put that into perspective, the vast majority of our steel, that is about 70% of it, is made using blast furnace, that is BF, basic oxygen furnace combination, that is BF-BOF route. This traditional method is incredibly energy intensive and relies heavily on the coal. For every single ton of hot metal it produces, it pump out around 2.2 ton of CO2. And here is the real challenge. These blast furnaces are built to last with a operational lifespan of 20 to 40 years. It's estimated that at least 20% of furnaces running today will still be in operation in the last 20 in the year 2050. So this means we have a decades to lock in a mission we need to deal with. The bottom line is simple. We are serious about meeting our climate targets. We absolutely must decarbonize steel production. And carbon capture is a critical technology to make that happen. So now question arises that where does this CO2 comes from? Uh, so where exactly do all these emissions come from in a steel mill? So it's not as simple as a smokestack. An integrated steel mill has a multiple sources, which makes capturing the CO2 a complex puzzle. The biggest offender by far is the blast furnace. This is the heart of the operation, but it's also single largest source of emission. The blast furnace gas, or BFG, it produces has a CO2 concentration of about 20 to 22%, and it's the origin of roughly 70% of the capturable emission in the entire plant. But that's not. The power plant, which burns steel gases to generate electricity, has flue gases containing around 13% CO2. Other major sources include sinter strand, where iron ore agglomeration is prepared for blast furnace, as well as coke oven, where the coke is produced, and the basic oxygen furnace, the steel is produced. So capturing CO2 from steel mill is uniquely challenged because these different gas streams are not just CO2 and nitrogen. They also contain valuable combustible gases like carbon monoxide and hydrogen, which are the which are the plant which are basically the plant need for energy. So coming to the next slide about our the four main pathway to capture carbon, and in these tackling these emission require a strategic approach. The researchers have categorized carbon capture technology for steelmaking into four main pathway, and as it is mentioned in the slide very clearly, first we have a post-combustion capture. This is the most mature approach, where you capture CO2 from the flue gases after the fuel has already been burned. Second is pre-combustion. This strategy involved removing the carbon from the fuel before it burned, which leaves you with a clean hydrogen rich fuel. Third is oxy-combustion. Instead of burning fuel with a regular air, which is mostly nitrogen, you use pure oxygen. This creates a highly concentrated CO2 exhaust stream, making it much easier and more efficient to capture. And finally, there are looping cycle. These are advanced technology that are use solid material like sorbent or oxygen carriers to either capture CO2 or capture or transfer oxygen in a continuous regenerative cycle. Now, coming to our next slide, let's take a closer look at most established methods. Post combustion capture. This technology uses chemical solvent or membranes to filter CO2 out of the flue gas. The most common method is chemical absorption. Imagine the flue gas bubbling through a liquid solvent like MEA. The solvent chemically react with and absorb the CO2. Later, these rich solvent is heated to separate column, which releases stream of pure CO2 ready for storage, and regenerated solvent is cycled back to the back to be used again. This is a very mature technology and rated at technology readiness level of 9, meaning it's already used in other industry. The cost can range anywhere from 38 US dollar to over 200 US dollar per ton of CO2 captured. But with carbon taxes and allowance prices rising, for instance, the EU price hit US dollar 91 per ton in early 2022. This is becoming an economically viable option. Depending on the setup, chemical absorption can reduce a plant emission by 11% to as much as 77%. Another emerging post-combustion technology is membranes. These are special material that allow CO2 to pass through while blocking other gases. They are still in development with a TRL of 2 to 6, but could become a competitive solution, especially for gas stream with high CO2 concentration. Now, for one of the most promising and radical redesign for steel making, the Oxy-Blast Furnace with the top gas recycling or TGR OBF. Here is how this clever integrated solution works. First, in oxygen combustion step, the furnace uses pure oxygen instead of air. Okay, so this is a game changer because it eliminates the nitrogen that normally dilute the furnace gases. Second, the top gas recycling loop comes into play. The gas coming out of the top of the furnace is rich in carbon monoxide. This gas is captured. The CO2 is removed and cleaned. The CO rich gas is then recycled right back into the furnace as a reducing agent. These benefits are huge. Recycling these reducing gases means the furnace need less coke, a key source of emission. This can reduce coke consumption up to 150 kilogram for every ton of hot metal produced. When you combine this coke saving with the capture of CO2, you can achieve a massive emission reduction of up to 86%. As an added bonus, the furnace can be smaller and 25 to 75% more productive. The main challenge, it requires a significant amount of electricity to produce the pure oxygen and to compress the recycled gases. Looking to the future, a new wave of innovation is coming in form of looping cycle. These novel processes promise lower cost and higher efficiency. One exciting technology is calcium looping. It uses simple, abundant limestone calcium oxide to capture CO2, which form calcium carbonate. This is then heated in a second reactor to release a pure stream of CO2, regenerating the limestone so it can be used again and again. The potential here is incredible. It can achieve capture rates of over 95%, and some studies show that if you use West steel slag as the material, the cost could be as low as 13 to 17 US dollars per ton of CO2 only. This technology has already been demonstrated a significant scale reaching TRL 6. Another promising technology is absorption enhanced water gas shift or SEWGS. These processes cleverly combine the production of hydrogen with CO2 capture in a single step. It has the potential to cut CO2 emission by 80 to 90% with very high energy efficiency, and like carbon looping, calcium looping has been demonstrated in a pilot scale facility. So, with all these options, which technology is the best? The truth is, there is no single silver bullet. The optimal choice depends on the factors like cost, the energy penalty, and the specific plant it's being fitted to. So let's do a quick side-by-side comparison based on the data. Post-combustion chemical absorption is the most mature at TRL9. Its cost averages around 77 US dollar per ton of CO2, and it has a very high reduction potential of up to 1700 kg per ton of hot metal. The Oxy-Blast Furnaces with the top gas recycling is a strong contender. It costs around 60 US dollar per ton of CO2 and can reduce emission up to 1270 kg, but it comes with a high electricity penalty. Calcium looping is incredibly promising on cost, ranging from 15 to 74 US dollar per ton, and has the highest theoretical CO2 reduction of up to 1709 kg with a low energy penalty. And ACWGS comes in at around 36 US dollar per ton with a medium electricity penalty and a reduction of 833 kg. So what's the key takeaway from the comprehensive review? This video is based on all those. The authors identify pre-combustion capture using adsorption, often paired with that oxy top gas recycling furnace we discuss as the most promising overall technology. This is due to its high TRL, significant CO2 reduction, and reasonable cost, even though the CO2 purity is slightly lower than other methods. So, decarbonizing the steel industry is a monumental but essential task. From the mature technology we can deploy today to groundbreaking innovations on the horizon, the pathway to a green steel future are becoming clearer. The biggest hurdle remains cost and need for infrastructure to transport and store the captured carbon. But with continued research and policy support, these technologies can transform one of the world's largest emitters into a model of industrial decarbonization.